Hello everyone, I have a short little video for you today and thought I'd go over some interesting things I've been given lately and some interesting insights I've found lately. So first I'd like to promote Matt at Ancient Architect's recent video on some of the construction techniques and the features around the base of the Great Pyramid that may have been overlooked or less documented, and some interesting revelations if some of this stuff is true. And he also crosses over into some of our discussion topics like the nubs, and he has pointed out that there are indeed nubs inside the Great Pyramid. So that's fascinating. I didn't know about this one. That's amazing. That could tie a lot of things together that we're talking about. Very interesting, controversial maybe connection. I knew about one nub inside the Great Pyramid. Here where it says Boss Seal, this is the little antechamber before the King's Chamber at the top of the Grand Gallery. And these stones, they were portcullis stones, supposedly. That's what they're called traditionally. But one of these portcullis stones has a little boss nub on one side. Now if we could just find square holes inside the Great Pyramid, and that'd be something. Then we could start making some serious connections and opening up some real mysteries. But anyway, also I have another insight that was given to me today by Shermanator Oz, Kaja Rumi, and this is Peru, I guess. So I don't know if it's, some of these are labeled as near Machu Picchu, so I'm not sure if they actually are, or if that's just to get people to come see them. I don't know. But these are fascinating. They remind me of these stones in Japan that have, they look like giant bedrock and boulder features that have just really precise carvings done into them. And these in Peru have triple incised motifs, which I find interesting, or maybe even 4 if you count this outer one, this wider one. And this site, there's not a lot of good pictures of this, guys. I'll have to pull up a video in a second to show you the scope of this place. But the site has just odd processing features like beveled lines and straight, hard edges and just things into the bedrock. Or is this a boulder? It's hard to tell. But you can see how far down that is into the valley. These things are way up in the mountains, I believe. So I'm going to try to find you guys a video. Okay, so gracias to Diego Martillo for this short video. But this site has triple incised motifs. It has these amazing square holes in these stones with triple incised motifs. And you see they're pretty high up in the mountains. So sometimes there's multiple ones in single stones. And there are other hard edges and beveled lines, just very odd features, decorative perhaps. I don't know what else to call those. He also, Shermanator noted that there's scoop marks, and scoop marks we see in other stones, such as ones at Sacsayhuaman. So that's kind of an interesting anomalous feature. And here's another angle of it. It looks kind of like a footprint in this angle. It doesn't so much in the other angle. It's just anomalous. Some of these other little areas around this upper surface that's been cleared off, it's not really smooth. It's just kind of just been leveled roughly, crudely, and then these were more important, so they were beveled with finer precision. And I might have seen these before in passing, just thought they were like an oddity. I didn't really realize the scope of what they were in, though. It's just, this is a giant stone, a giant boulder on top of a mountain, and I assume this is the trail up to it, and you can see some of the worked surfaces around the top. So a person, I don't know, this is pretty large. There's not many pictures that show the scope of them like this. So this is a pretty large feature, and what it reminded me of is some of these features in Japan. This one is Masuda no Iwafuni, and there's another one like it, and the Ishi no Hoden, and this one is I don't even, I'm baffled, guys. I have no idea. This is amazing. This thing has its own little pool of water underneath it, so it looks like it's floating. It's got hard beveled edges, and if you cleared away the top, they say there's more holes in the top, like this Masuda Iwafune stone has. And the sides of these things, I wish I could get better pictures for these, but the processing on the sides are crazy. I've never seen anything like these stones anywhere else. These are really wild. So this goes into like the Shinto religion, and like the Shinto worship natural features and natural spirits and things like that of the earth. So things like this would be, definite Shinto like holy religious sites. So just some interesting, maybe connections across the continents. Just interesting architecture or execution of stone cutting techniques, we'll say. So, but today, the real point of this video was to kind of delve into some of the Great Pyramid research a little deeper and talk about some stuff along with some of the stuff that Matt was talking about and some others have talked about. I want to bring up the photos of the well shaft and grotto of the Great Pyramid that the LAH.RU crew took back in 2011. So the site is a little hard to navigate. You'll have to go to old.lah.ru/exped.htm to get to this site. And from here, you would have to go down to their 2011 Egypt, December 2011 Egypt, LAI, here's LAI group expedition report. Go here, and it's kind of hard to navigate again, but this is a map of Egypt, the lower Nile Delta, and here is Giza in Russian, and from here they'll take you to the photos from that year of Giza that they took while they were there, and from there you can go to Pyramid of Khufu and surroundings, and this is a very detailed walk around and investigation, photographic investigation of the structure inside and out as much as they could, as much as they were allowed. And for the most part, we only had photos like this about the well shaft and grotto, black and white, of maybe one or two people with handheld cameras, like horrible quality cameras, that we don't see any kind of detail inside here, any kind of features, architectural features. Very, very few color pictures exist of the inside of this structure. Maybe some Japanese photos, I'm not sure, but I don't believe I've come across them. So this little thing here is their little rig that they made. This is a it's to guide the camera along the shaft, and the camera was set to auto to snap photos every every second or so, I suppose. And it's kind of a clever little rig. Good job. It would skim the sides of the walls, and the center would be where the photo apparatus was attached. So very nice. Good job, guys. I don't know how you all got the permission to do this, but really good job, guys. I don't know if anybody has ever been able to do that since. This is back in 2011, and this is the best we have. So some of these pictures, starting out, we don't know when they started the camera started taking the photos, and we don't really know how the camera was lowered down into the well shaft. There's really no documentation of that part. Right now there is a grate, a metal grate over the opening to the well shaft, and there is really no documentation of them lowering the camera down through this grate, or how the grate was open. So all we have are the photos that they have presented us with, and a lot of them appear to be upside down, or the orientation is really confusing and it takes a few seconds to work out. Perhaps the camera was put on the apparatus upside down, and then they had to put the photos in this direction to get the correct orientation. I think in some instances we'll see that's correct. But this is a very interesting little snapshot into an area of the Great Pyramid that no one has ever seen. No one knows anything about this area of the Great Pyramid. The features in it are crazy. Like this outcrop of rock here is crazy. Is this part of what they call the granite block that is pitched down into a deep hole in the floor? Is that what this is? That is amazing. It says here that no, it is F. It is part of this outcrop of the natural bedrock, but it looks completely different. I don't know what's going on with this. And then G is supposed to be this back wall, and then B is the area beyond over here. Maybe B and C are these two parts of the masonry, but beyond would be out of the line of sight. That's why they have the red demarcations, the line of sight of the camera. So I don't know. There's just some wild stuff going on in here. And there's supposedly some photos of these little holes, these upper parts of the grotto where these little holes go in, and they said they were for hiding the scrolls, the ancient scrolls. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it's just an interesting story that means there's holes in there. And there are photos in this collection that show holes in the masonry that look pretty anomalous and in some instances corroded. Find that interesting. So first, they just start taking pictures of the inside of the upper structure, which is coursed masonry, and you can see there is mortar fill. Is this ancient mortar? Original mortar? That'd be very interesting if it is. It could be repair mortar also, but it is interesting. It's very conglomerate in its execution of stones. Some darker, some like this is pink. This pinker stone, I'm not sure what this is. Is this granite bits? It's very haphazard at this point. I'm not sure. There's not really any uniformity. You don't see any really hard edges or masonry tool marks. Just maybe some faint traces. Very crudely put together. Here, I'm not sure how this was taken. This could be a portion of the wall of the well shaft. That is a decent configuration. Mortar again, and then you see the horizontal, and then perhaps another vertical elements. Not sure. Or is this looking up at the ceiling above the well shaft? It's hard to tell, isn't it? We have no sense of scale. We have no sense of orientation. I don't know where we are. But this is some portion of the well shaft. And it goes on like this, guys. I can submit you to the whole thing if you want. There are some strange, features in some of these photos that pique my attention. But for the most part, it's a really confusing mess going down this well shaft with no orientation and not really good lighting. They kick up a lot of dust. But every now and again, man, they hit a home run. And here is a home run, guys. Look at this photo. This is looking into the grotto. You can even see the old, little tourist, little guides, the maps probably, the little snippets of information that they hand out or they sell, and the passing tourist would just pitch them down the well shaft like it's a trash can, and some of them would float down and luckily get caught on the edge. I mean, how old are some of these, right? These little, tourist guides and other artifacts in this little rubbish heap, perched precariously on the edge of the well shaft into the grotto. And then you think some of this other debris, what could this other debris date? When could it date from? I mean, some of this looks like pottery shards. This could be all ancient debris inside of here that has never been documented or cleaned out or dated, or anything is done with this, tried to piece back together. No one knows about any of this, and it's just why there could be so much. There's a wealth of archaeological evidence in this midden heap, and they love to go through midden heaps, don't they? Every single video you'll see, they'll find some rubbish heap, and they find somebody's comb, and they'll think it's the greatest thing. And then here you go, they have this huge rubbish heap, and no one's going through it. What's that about? Just, it makes me mad sometimes. But some of these other pictures are really, again, hard to make out. They don't really show anything in terms of the architecture. But every now and again, they'll hit a home run and show you some really wild stuff. Like here, I believe this is the lower portion. You see conglomerate rocks that are darker. Perhaps like the lower portion was set on fire. I think that's in the history, in the documented history. I believe it was an antiquarian story. I forget which one it was, but the story was that the smell was so bad that they had to throw down like burning incense or something to make the smell go away, and it like caught fire in the bottom part of the well shaft and scorched some of the rocks, I think, maybe, and that may be why the colors are different down there. But what about this area? What's going on here? This looks like a completely different type of scorching or staining. And what is this hole about? Very anomalous. I don't know where this goes, what orientation this is. I'm assuming this is up and down, left and right, like normal. And this is just a portion of the side of the well shaft. This straight line appears to be parts of the masonry, but I don't know if we're at bedrock level here yet or not. Very interesting, right? Another close-up. What's going on here? See, this is, I don't know what portion of the pyramid this is. This pinkish stuff, is this the mortar? And this other stuff, is this just bedrock or is this stone? It's really hard to tell at this point. Like is this masonry or bedrock? I don't know what level we're at. And this area has a void in it. Where is this? Where does this go? I don't know this portion of the well shaft. Does this go anywhere back here? I don't know. Very important things to note, though, are handholds. Look at these. There's two of them in this photo, top and bottom. And how ancient are these? Are these carved into the rock afterwards? They appear to be. Like this joint, I think this is a joint between two stones, and this little handhold appears to be carved in the joint between them. And this one below. Crude handholds to climb the well shaft. And a really good photo of a handhold. So what is this about? Is this after the fact, or is this original to access the grotto? For the original builders to climb down themselves and access the grotto for whatever reason? That's interesting to me. I don't know. Again, this pinkish white stone, is this mortar? And is this the stone? This stuff is very anomalous to me. And another area with a lot of this pinkish stuff. But in here, it looks like stone, like granite. But it could also be some type of mortar, the way it's spread around. And what's this little hole about? That's odd. That's anomalous. A little, almost rectangular hole. Where does that go? Here's a really good portion of the masonry where it's really tightly fitted, dry laid. That looks pretty good. There may be, I don't know, that might be mortar. It might be hard to tell because of all this dust kicked up. But in most of these instances, it looks pretty tightly fitted and dry laid. And perhaps polygonal even, I don't know. Hard to tell. But that would tie into a lot of the things we're talking about. And here's a close-up of the rubbish heap. And just look at the debris. Some of that stuff is definitely pottery shards and other datable elements, and who knows what some of that stuff is. And they're bottles. I mean, turn of the century stuff all the way back to who knows how old, right? Who knows what's in there? And no one's ever gone in there and categorized and cataloged any of this data. So I won't subject you to all of them, guys. You can look through them yourself, and you can read this too. This English translation is pretty good. You can kind of make out what they're talking about and the areas that they're describing. So like they point out that this is one of their better photos and some of the interesting things that it depicts and some of these other areas. So just check this out and maybe go through the rest of their catalog. They have some really good photos that show some things that are kind of normally off limits or less documented. They're really thorough. They do a lot of stuff like this at a lot of sites. So please check them out. I think they're really good researchers, and they need more attention from this side of the world. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today, and I guess we'll talk to you in a couple days, and we'll try to get more of the Bevel Block series done, and hopefully after this holiday weekend we can round that off, and we'll go to some other topics and flesh out some more photo albums. So we will talk to you next time, guys.